Welcome to Labor Talks, a podcast by NJASAP and for NJASAP that shares important news and information that you consume on your schedule. Labor Talks will tackle vital topics like safety, contract administration, the labor management relationship, and how to navigate life as a NetJets pilot. And we will bring this information to you with the help of experienced union leaders, industry consultants, and subject matter experts. Whether you listen in your car, on the treadmill, or while working on tasks around your home, Labor Talks is a worthy investment of your time and attention. Join your fellow pilots and advocates as Labor Talks.
Welcome to Labor Talks. I'm your host, Dawsen Pietro.
And I'm your co-host, Clare Carey.
And joining us today is Scheduling Committee Chair, Bennett Taylor. Join us for the final installment of our three-part refresher on standby and overtime pay, hot spare duty, and reserve and non-flight assignment duties. All three episodes are part of our multi-part series, Did You Know? Today's topic, reserve and non-flight assignment duty. So jumping right into it, overall, what is reserve duty?
So reserve duty is either going to be at your residence or at the hotel. And it's essentially time that the company is setting aside during your normal duty day where they necessarily don't need you at the airport yet. So they're going to give you a little bit extra time at your residence or again at the hotel before they send you out on your first duty assignment.
How does one know when they've been briefed for reserve duty?
So it'll be pretty clear on your Waypoint app. It's going to typically have a orange bar next to that assignment, and it's going to list the time that you are on reserve duty. What I tell most folks is at the end of the listed time for that reserve is the time you need to be at your next duty assignment. So that is not the time you're either leaving the hotel or leaving your residence. That's the time you need to be either at the FBO or at the airport for your airline.
Great. A common thing I found, if I'm in the middle of my reserve duty and I get a call from the company saying I need to be at the next duty location for an airline or for a flight, what is the time requirement after getting off that phone call to where I need to be leaving the hotel or my residence?
Yeah, so once you've either acknowledged your next brief or you got off the phone with the scheduler, your requirement is to be ready, essentially to begin the travel to that location within 30 minutes of being contacted by the company.
That's good to know. So if we're contacted by the company, we don't have to drop everything we're doing and immediately run out the door of an FBO or at a hotel or residence.
No, you're not required to sit at your home, uniform on, ready for them to send you a new brief. Again, 30 minutes is the absolute minimum. They have to give you a heads up that they're going to need to get you out the door. But typically, they're going to hopefully give you an hour or 2 hours notice, especially before an airline. I have occasionally seen it where it's just 30 minutes before you're getting in the hotel shuttle for a flight. But typically, they're going to give you more than that.
All right. So, Dawsen, you'll have enough time to blow dry your hair.
I always set that aside. Come on. Another kind of gotcha is updating your, if you do move residences. For example, in July moved from one apartment from one side of Dallas to the other side of Dallas, and my drive time to my to my base was about 20 minutes more. And updating that into the NetJets, I guess just through their website is important because that's what the scheduler is going to see for the commute time from your residence to your show location. I don't know how common that is with other people, but being in Dallas, that's probably common for larger hubs where you're getting more reserve at residence, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so there's definitely there's kind of two groups of folks. The first group is you live less than 90 miles from your base, and the company should be looking at your drive time to the airport and including that. If it seems unrealistic or they give you, more or less 30 minutes to be ready out the door and your airline is going to be another 30 minutes later, I definitely give scheduling a call. The second group of folks are the people that live more than 90 miles from their base. If you're given some sort of reserve residence duty and you do live more than 90 miles from your base, then you're going to have to reach out to the company and just let them know, hey, I live more than 90 miles and this is going to be my anticipated drive time if you do need me.
Now, are they required to add a travel line if that's the case?
It depends. If you are already on duty, let's say day one, then they're going to need to add that travel line. If, let's say that you had an 8 a.m. show for day one, you get briefed at 6 p.m. On day zero for your first day of brief, and you're showing just a normal or kind of a generic brief that says 0800 at the FBO, and you live, let's say 2 hours in this case from your residence, then the company essentially is going to look and see, okay, they're going to have to be out the door at 6 a.m. Because they do live farther away to make that 8 o'clock at the FBO. That will not be included in your brief for that day, since they still anticipate you to be there at 0800. If they give you an hour of that reserve residence at home, and now instead of having to be at the FBO at 0800, you just need to be there at 0900. And let's say you get that brief in the middle of the night or first thing when you wake up, at 5 a.m. so you can get out the door at 6. Again, I would let the company know, hey, it's going to take me 2 hours to get there. But in this scenario, you still would not see the travel time, since essentially what the company is giving you here is an additional hour at the house. And that's what they're giving you. So where you might have left typically at 6 a.m., now you're leaving at 7. They're going to say, great, you're calling us ahead enough, with enough time or notice to be able to make sure you get to where you need to be. But once you are on duty, that's the kick,
That's the trigger.
That's controlling, or that's the trigger essentially. So once you're on duty, then they have to add the travel line.
Is there a time frame associated with reserve duty? When does it typically end?
They can put you on for as long as they want. I typically see 8 to 10 hours for a residence or hotel if your aircraft's AOG or they have nowhere to send you. It will end either when they assign you a flight, if they're going to assign you travel to go somewhere, or you just end up completing that residence or reserve duty at residence or at the hotel. Then you might just stay where you're at.
Is there any pay associated with reserve duty?
Very limited circumstances. So if reserve duty is either the first or last duty assignment of the day, you will not see any additional pay. If the company, let's say for instance, had you do a flight, and then once you got to where, once the flight was concluded, they said, well, we want you to go sit at the hotel for the next 7 hours and then go complete another flight. In that scenario, you will start accruing standby time after your third hour of sitting in the hotel waiting for that next assignment. But like I alluded to at the beginning, you're going to very rarely see that happens.
Bennett, is there anything that we haven't touched on with reserve duty that you'd like our crew members to know?
So R2 is a best kept secret at times, and reserve 2, that is limited to the last duty assignment for the day. And when you're on R2 duty, all that is required of you is to accept your next duty assignment or to accept your next day's brief. So if you do get R2 duty, it is considered as part of your duty day. So you'll still get overtime, and it's included and or up to the 14 hours you might work that day. But once you're assigned it, feel free to go to the ballpark. You can go see a movie. You're not committed to being ready within the 30 minutes that we talked about earlier for the other different types of reserve.
You just have to be available to accept your next day brief.
Just have to be available to accept your next day brief. That's it.
All righty. Well, let's get into everyone's least favorite area of the contract, or maybe I'm just projecting, non-flight assignment duty. What on earth is it?
Yes, NFAD is any type of duty defined as other than non-flight assignment duty in the contract. A lot of people at times can call it magic money when they're looking at their off message for the day. A good example I like to give of when you will be receiving or getting NFAD is typically when you're doing those duty extensions at the end of your day. So if you need to put in an MEL so you're putting in for a maintenance extension, or the previous owners may or may not have left the aircraft in the best of shape, and you need some additional time to help get the aircraft cleaned, you will be receiving NFAD pay during that time.
Bennett, what's the compensation component for NFAD or non-flight assignment duty?
So it'll be in the ballpark of about $52 per hour. That's in Section 27 of the contract and is adjusted yearly. You will be receiving that NFAD pay as long as your duty day has not yet exceeded 12 hours. Once you are on overtime, the company is always going to give you essentially the greater sum of either what would be the NFAD pay or the overtime pay. So in that aforementioned example of, hey, I'm putting in for some stock and clean extensions, and it's been a 13.5-hour duty day, and I make it a 14-hour duty day since we need an extra half hour to clean the aircraft. It'll still show as the time listed as NFAD time for the day itself, but the company's still going to give you that higher dollar amount for the included overtime. They do not stack, so it's not like you're getting the $52 an hour plus your overtime pay. It's just whatever the higher value is how they will pay you on that.
Bennett, is there any way that we can track our non-flight assignment duty, just considering how gray it already kind of is?
Yeah, so that listed cumulative time is going to be found in one of two places. It will either be found in your shutdown message for the day. Also underneath the FDP wheel, there lists a daily sum for each days of your tour of how much NFAD you accumulated for that duty day. Again, it might not exactly pay out at what you think in terms of NFAD, just because part of the NFAD time might have been during an overtime part of the day.
That makes sense. And if there is a suspicion or wondering if there's a discrepancy, who should I contact in regards to that?
Yeah, definitely reach out to the JRCC, and also just reach out to the company in terms of scheduling, and they should be able to clear up what your total NFAD allotment is for that day.
Awesome.
So that would be jrcc@njasap.com.
Carter would be very happy to help you.
All right, Bennett, thank you so much for joining us on this 3-part series.
Absolutely. Thanks again for having me on.
All right, everyone, that's a wrap on Labor Talks Season 1. It's hard to believe that 2025 is coming to an end. This has been a rather important year for your union. We have shown strength, resilience, and commitment to our members 24/7, 365, and we couldn't do it without your support. Thank you to the listeners who have been here from the beginning, and to those new listeners we have gained over the course of the year. If you haven't already caught up on previous episodes of Labor Talks, we encourage you to do so during this holiday season.
So what's ahead? You can expect new Labor Talks episode on or around January 20th of next year. We'll be posting about every 2 weeks starting in 2026, so look ahead for that. Expect to hear a few new voices such as myself next year as we introduce brand new guest speakers.
While Labor Talks takes a brief holiday hiatus, your union has not. NJASAP is your 24/7, 365 advocate, and we encourage you to reach out to your steward on duty whenever you need. On behalf of all of those who make this podcast possible, I wish you all a happy and healthy holiday season.
And we look forward to providing you with new episodes in the new year. See you soon.
Thank you for joining us today on another episode of Labor Talks. If you haven't already done so, please follow NJASAP on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter @NJASAP. Show your support for the union with comments, likes, and shares. If you enjoyed this episode, encourage your fellow NJASAP members to tune in, and please share recommendations for future podcast episodes with us at podcast@njasap.com. Stay tuned for our next episode, and until then, this is Labor Talks, presented by NJASAP.